confused.
My name is Frank Cho, and you're
All
listening
right,
to
guys,
Something
welcome
Super
back to
Podcast.
another episode of Something Super Podcast. I'm Steve.
I'm Mark.
And guys, this week we will be breaking down Mrs. Marvel, or Miss Marvel. Sorry, I apologize. She's not actually married yet. She might be. We'll see. So yeah, I know we're a couple weeks behind on this, but we've been kind of backlogged with all the shit that's going on with San Diego Comic-Con and all the other stuff that Marvel's releasing and trying to get kickstarted on YouTube. So life does get in the way, but we are going to give you some Miss Marvel hot takes, some in-depth insight from our own personal opinions here, and then some of the stuff we're going to be looking forward to in the future. So, Mark, let's start us off. What did you think of the series as a whole?
So, guys, before we start jumping into this, make sure you give us a
Yes.
like and a subscribe down here at the bottom. Also, go ahead and feel free to comment. We love interacting with you guys. What did you guys think of this series? Because for me, it was a little bit lackluster, to be honest. Like, I'm number one, I don't know much about Miss Marvel other than like what happened in like the Avengers video game
Yep.
and like select comics that I've read here and there where it wasn't her comic. She just kind of was part of the ensemble in there. So like for me personally, the show it kept my attention, but at the same time, like it just brought up more questions. Like number one, like at the very by the way, spoiler alert if you haven't watched it yet, the whole Captain Marvel thing at the end, like I talked to you, like did they swap places? Or did she just morph into like Captain Marvel? Because like we know that like she's technically a mutant. They pretty much said that.
Yep.
So like what is the extent to the powers that the bracelet gives her? Like we know it gives her like that crystal energy and stuff, but we also know now that it gives her time travel, which could be very key to helping fight Kang, because we know now you have America
America Chavez.
Chavez. America Chavez can open different dimensions, and now we have someone that can just time travel with once she figures it out. So those are two very, very key components.
Avenger level threats.
Not even Avenger, no, like good things to have on your side
Absolutely.
to fight the Avenger level threats. Like for Thanos, they had to develop time travel. She's like, oh, I found my grandmother's bracelet and I can time travel now. Like
Yeah. Well, so what the funniest thing, and I mean, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. So we essentially put the Infinity Stones back to where they belong. The Infinity Stones, that was the end of the Infinity Saga. We're starting over. So you have a character that can travel dimensions or travel through, you know, different parts of the world. Like I don't know if her powers are just dimensional or if she can travel like from one place to another in the same universe.
right.
You have a person that can time travel. You have a person that can warp and shape reality. Does it seem like we're just counting down stones at this point? Like there is a character for each Infinity Stone now.
Right.
You know, we have She-Hulk coming out. That's power. We might have a Soul Stone-ish thing with Wakanda, maybe Ironheart. We'll see. Who knows? You know, Vision still exists. I know the Mind Stone's not really with him anymore, but
Right.
still, you know, so like we have these characters that essentially are Infinity Stone based characters, which is fine. We have Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania coming up, which is going to be a huge tie-in. Obviously, like you said, Kang the Conqueror is going to be the big bad in that. That is going to be based around time travel and interdimensional travel, which are two things that we just got here with Multiverse of Madness introducing America Chavez and Miss Marvel.
Yeah, like I mean, there's a big theory going around that possibly Kang created the mutants to kind of help, like I guess him on like in his conquests and stuff like that. Which then you could lead that into we could actually get a good apocalypse movie,
Yeah,
things like that. We have Secret Wars coming out where you like I mean, if it follows the comics, it has to have Doctor Doom. Like it has to. You can't do Secret Wars like without him. He is the main antagonist in that storyline.
yep.
And I've been saying for how long now that I think it was literally like episode 5 of this whole podcast when we first started. I was like, I want Doctor Doom. Like, just give me him.
We're gonna have a Fantastic Four movie, like an MCU Fantastic Four movie, not a Fox or Sony Fantastic Four movie that was. I'm sorry, they're hot garbage. And then they made 2 of the original one, which fucking Christ, please just stop. Like Silver Surfer is such a fucking cool character, and you didn't do him justice.
And you make Galactus just like a giant smoke cloud in space.
Yeah.
Like, but back to Miss Marvel though, one thing I liked about it was I know I've said in previous episodes that Marvel's kind of forcing jokes. I feel here they weren't as forced because number one, it was nice to see that we're getting that diversity now in the MCU.
Yep.
Like,
Huge.
yeah, so it's just funny because it's like Cameron, he keeps calling Bruno
Brian.
Brian. And he's like, and every time Bruno's like, I know he knows my name. And it happens like 5 times. And it's like the last episode when Bruno's like helping him after he gets hurt, he's like, oh, thanks, Brian. He's like, you know, my name's Bruno. I goes, dude, I really did not know that. Sorry. Like, and he like apologizes. Like, he's so
He
sincere
wasn't
about it.
actually being an asshole about it.
Yeah. Like, it's so funny. He's like, oh, my bad. Like,
So I know you said you had a few issues with it as well. My biggest issue, and I'm going to explain why I have an issue and sort of why I understand that they didn't do it this way. Miss Marvel's powers are not space crystal, whatever crystal shit that she actually fucking had in the show. She's supposed to stretch almost like, Mr. Fantastic. But I think strictly due to the fact that Mr. Fantastic has never had like a proper role on screen, with the exception of I think Multiverse of Madness, which even still was like kind of iffy. They went with a different power, which I completely understand because when people's bodies like stretching or are amorphic and stuff like that, like for this type of show, which I felt was very Nickelodeon esque, I don't think it would have landed well with the viewers that they were trying to get.
right.
And again, I understand why they did it. I take issue with it strictly for the fact that it doesn't stick to the comics, which I think is one of the biggest things that you and I have like harped on since episode 1. Like, stay true to the story.
Right.
We understand like origin stories can be slightly different in this, that, and the other, but like, Batman's always going to be Batman. He's always going to have Batman powers, which are nothing. It's just money. Superman's always going to have Superman powers. His origin may be slightly different where he landed and this and that. Like we talked about the Red Sun Superman, but like he's always still Superman.
Right.
And this
Flashpoint Superman, Red Sun Superman.
yeah,
Like,
there's a million of them on HBO Max. And like, but the thing that I took to heart with this was like, that's not her character.
right.
And yeah, so I also know you had a lot of questions about the Miss Marvel swap at the end, which before we go any further, hashtag fuck Brie Larson. Sorry, I gotta get my shots in while I can.
Episodes 1 and 2 had to be like a nightmare for you. Just the
The
fucking
fact the
Captain
fan
Marvel.
girling over fucking Captain Marvel. I'll tell you what, it didn't do me as dirty as I thought it was going to, strictly because like
It wasn't actually her. It was just pictures.
it wasn't actually her. And I get it. I am a fucking Iron Man fanboy. And if Robert Downey Jr. was still a scumbag, like he was back in the 90s, I could get it. I get it.
it.
But I digress. So the whole swap at the end, I believe it is like multiversal swapping on her part. Now, I don't know how she did it, but I think the thing I said to you and you brought it up to me was she never looked in a mirror.
Right.
Never like realized that she was Carol Danvers. So seeing yourself on a poster on a wall, you'd be like, what the fuck? And that's kind of what they gave us, was like, oh my God, what the hell's going on moment. Which
See,
I'm
for me,
completely okay with.
the reason why I'm so curious is because like she doesn't try to she doesn't use any power. She literally just runs out of the room. Like, and that's like what a teenage girl would do. Like she would just run out of the room.
I get that, but also again, conversely, like she is one of the top tier like powered Avengers when it comes to like just raw power.
Right.
And if she went like full supernova in this person's house, she's like murdering people.
No, I'm not saying go supernova, but like even just levitate a little bit, like she doesn't even like levitate or anything like that, or like just kind of like power up like her hand or something just to see if she has her powers. She literally just like looks around like and it just runs out of the room.
And I
To-
trust me, I can see it. I understand both sides of it. Again, guys, in the comments, let us know what you think, whether it's actually Carol Danvers or whether it's Miss Marvel and she shapeshifted, because that is technically one of her abilities. Like Reed Richards can do that because he can morph his body however he'd like.
Right.
So realistically speaking, now again, I don't know if her powers still sort of fall into that line because she has the space stone magic shit now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was happy to see the character progression though from like the beginning, where she's like a quiet, shy girl that, her parents are super strict with her, and like the parents' growth, her family's growth. Like you said, the diversity in the show was like unmatched from any other Marvel movie or series that I've seen yet.
Yeah, like they're just bringing in all these different characters because I forget what is she Pakistani, if
I
I'm not
believe so.
mistaken?
Yeah.
I forget. Yeah, I forget which city exactly, but like three-quarters of the show itself like is not even in the US. And like we see like their customs, like we see like their wedding, their brother's wedding and stuff like that.
Yep.
Like I did feel though like the villains were just rushed. Like it's like episode 2, she's like, "We want to help you." Episode 3, she's like, "I'm gonna murder you now." Like,
Yeah. No, so that's the one of the big things for me. I agree. Although it was what is a shorter series with 6 episodes. So it's not
right.
like they had a ton of time to build it up. But I thought that they did her progression well. And the thing that I liked the most was they didn't give her like a real superhero costume until she was actually accepted by her parents, and her parents are the ones that gave it to her.
See, I love that. I loved when like she finally tells them, they're like, "Why didn't you tell us sooner? Like this is awesome." Like,
Yeah. I wonder why I didn't tell you sooner, because I went out once and you lost your damn mind. Like,
yeah. And I did love that they did that. Like that was such a cliche joke, but like it's funny because it's age appropriate for her because she's what, a senior in high school or a
senior or
junior?
junior. Yeah. She's younger. She's a
Either
high school age kid.
yeah, either way, she's like 16 or 17. So like she puts like there's Ant-Man where they put this whole plan together and then shit falls apart.
Yep.
We're like, okay, like it's not, it hits, but like not as funny because like these are like trained robbers, and like that's why it's funny. For her, it's just like, all right, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna get on my bike. I'll be there by 7 o'clock. We'll hang out by this. I'll be home by 9:30 when lights are out. And then it's like she's finally getting home after everything that happens.
11:55.
Like, yeah, it's like 11:25. She like crawls in her window. Her mom's like sitting there waiting for her. She's like, ooh.
And
I'm like,
I
it's we've all had that moment.
absolutely. And I think that's one of the big things where like we as adults can understand and relate to like the younger versions of ourselves doing stupid things like that, but also kids of that age and younger kids, they see the humor in that as well, because like either you're living that or that's something, maybe you've seen your older sibling go through or whatever. And like that hits. That stuff
Right.
goes far. Also the whole like animation in the background stuff, like the text messages and this, that, and the other, and the high school romance, like I get all of it. It may not hit directly for me or you, but I understand why they did what they did, and it was an overall decent series.
Yeah, no, like I really didn't have, there's a couple like plot holes I feel like it might open up now, but all in all, like that's mostly just the time travel. Like, can she just see? Well, no, because she
She
saved,
interacted with
she
her
did enter, yeah.
grandmother,
So it's like,
her
to
great
what
grandmother.
extent can she travel in time? Like, was it only because that was part of like her own timeline, or could she do that with anybody's timeline?
I mean, you get her and America Chavez together, and it's a dirty duo.
Right, and that's the other thing too, is like now we know that like there's this whole other dimension where like the Jinn are from.
Yep.
And
Well, and that's again
like
interdimensional travel, and that's where her great grandmother is like. So she's not even technically from this dimension. She is like bred into this dimension.
right. And
Interesting.
that's yeah, like it's just opening up all new worlds. Like in Moon Knight, we have like the underworld, like the afterlife for like the Egyptian culture. Then you have Thor, Love and Thunder now, where we know Valhalla is real, and like
And you have so many other gods that they introduced. Like, holy shit.
right, like, and that's the other thing too, is like they make a joke in there for your Mephisto train. I don't know if you called it in Thor: Love and Thunder, but there's a scene where like Zeus is like announcing awards that different gods are winning, and one was like for the most souls sacrificed to them. And then it cuts to like Thor and them, but in the background it sounds like he yells Satan. Which if they're Satan, then that means that there's actually, because they do make the Jesus joke. I'm assuming they say there is a god that was a carpenter. So if they do that, then there has to be a hell. Well, guess who's in hell in Marvel?
Mephisto.
Mephisto. And a lot of people think that in Multiverse of Madness, the reason why you see that red cloud when Wanda like is getting crushed is because it's the souls of the damned dragging her to hell. Because there was two souls left inside of her, like you saw in Doctor Strange, there was the one trapped in his iris.
Yeah.
Well, there was I think 13 souls around him, and then he six them on her. But when she casts them back out, there's only 11, so there's two missing. Well, in the comics, to get her kids, Mephisto gives two pieces of his soul. So I'm wondering if this is where we're going to start getting maybe a House of M storyline,
Which would be awesome.
which a lot of people suspect Earth 838 to be the House of M universe, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm reaching. I'm really
Hey,
reaching.
No,
But
dude, seriously, like that, it tracks. Like your theory tracks 110%. If they stick with it, awesome. If not, Marvel, we're available for hire whenever you got time.
yeah, like I know that our input means nothing because you've already planned 30 years in advance, but
Yeah, I'll
hey,
be dead before the Marvel, like the MCU is gone.
that's why
So
I love the one meme where it's like I feel bad for the kids in the year that are born in the year like 2060 that have to watch 8,426 Marvel movies to catch up with what's going on.
yep, you have no idea. Like, who is this character? Don't worry about it.
Like
You got a while.
like by that point, like they won't even remember who Iron Man is again.
I
Like
know. And yeah, they're gonna have a new Iron Man. And by that time, they might actually have a fucking cool ass Iron Man suit that's like real.
yeah, like
That would be dope.
but no, I would give Miss Marvel probably like a 7.5 out of 10.
I agree with that. I wouldn't go any higher than 8 at all. And it's again, it's not because it was a bad series overall. It was a very childish series, which again didn't stick well for me. And the fact that they deviated from the comic baseline. So like that was two big hits for me.
Yeah,
Understandably so. It was not, maybe I'm not the target audience, and that's fine. Still watched it, still liked it. Was not a bad series, just wasn't for me.
right. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see like how she's utilized in the Marvels that's coming out soon. Well,
Yep.
not soon, but within the next couple of years. And then I'm curious to see how and if they work her into the Avengers, or if they do West Coast Avengers, or if they do the Young Avengers, or
I feel like she'd fall more into the Young Avengers aspect. We're getting an Ant-Man and Wasp. We're gonna have Stature, Cassie Lang. We have Spider-Man, who would be like the leader because he's the Iron Man of the Young Avengers. We have Iron Heart, potentially Shuri. We got a lot of stuff going on here. The young Hawkeye, the Kate Bishop. So we've seen the character building for the younger Avengers, and I'm cool with that. Like I will always say it, there will always be room for Marvel movies, and I know there's been stuff that was said online recently, like they're making too much, they got to slow down. They don't have to. They really don't. It's not like they're losing quality or anything. There's just a million different stories to tell. So yeah, we're not getting your Iron Man, your Captain America, and your Thor stories anymore. No, they're not even the original fucking three anyway. So like, let's not start there.
we're
But
getting Charlie Cox is just taking over the MCU by storm now. He's like, you know what?
yes,
I'm gonna have one cameo in Spider-Man Far From Home, and now he's like, you know what? I'm gonna be in 70% of the products coming out in the next 2 years.
that is something I can't wait for, guys. Please tune in for our She-Hulk breakdowns when that show does come out. Is that what, next week, right?
I believe so. We also have I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones, but
House
uh
of Dragons.
House of Dragon comes out the 27th,
And I would also like to do, I know,
17th, I think.
okay. I was
Wednesday, I believe.
just talking to Mark about this before we started, and with the death of the CW Arrowverse, and we're gonna do a breakdown on that and some of the stuff that we think they should do moving forward. So,
Stay
guys,
tuned, guys. We have a lot of topics come up, and let us know in the comments if there's anything you want us to cover.
Absolutely. Before we head out, check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Something Super Podcast and at SS Podcast 52 on Twitter and on all of your major streaming platforms. Last but not least, I'm Steve.
Mark.
And we'll catch you guys next week.